Far from the center of the galaxy, where light from the stars looked dim and thin like old fire, a massive alien warship drifted through the black. The Zenith Prime, flagship of the Zarn Empire, was built for fear. Its sharp silver armor could cut through small moons, and its energy cannons could tear through fleets. But out here on the silent edge of known space, even a warship could feel small. The crew was restless. For weeks they had searched for signs of the strange new species that had started sending ships beyond their home system. They called them humans, primitive, loud, emotional creatures, still young by galactic standards. To the Zarn, they were nothing more than curious animals who had learned to play with fire. Commander Threx sat on the main bridge, his black scales shining under the dim blue light. He tapped his claws against the armrest, annoyed by the silence. "Anything yet?" he growled. "Nothing, Commander," replied the sensor officer. "Only static and cosmic dust." Threx leaned back, tired of hunting ghosts. He had expected glory, not boredom. The High Council had ordered them to patrol the border near human space, but there had been no sign of any ships for days. Then, a soft tone echoed through the bridge. The sensor display flashed once, then again. "Contact detected," the officer said, his voice shaking. "Small vessel, unknown design. No transponder signal." Threx's eyes narrowed. "Show me." The main screen came alive, showing a tiny shape drifting among the stars. It looked small, too small to be a warship. It didn't move like one either. It just floated, silent, lifeless. Threx let out a low laugh. So the humans finally sent a scout ship. "Look at it, fragile, weak. Probably a test drone." The crew joined in his laughter. A few of them placed bets on how fast they could destroy it, but the science officer frowned. "Commander, the readings are strange. I can't identify its energy signature. It's like," he paused, "it's like nothing we've seen before." "Could be a cloaking field," Threx said carelessly. "Or a human malfunction. Either way, it's not dangerous." He leaned forward. "Prepare to capture it. Let's bring it in before it drifts away." As the Zenith Prime moved closer, the alien warship dwarfed the small, silent craft. The human's ship didn't react, didn't turn, didn't even send a signal. It just floated dark and quiet like a ghost lost in the void. "Open a hail," Threx ordered. The communications officer tapped at the console. "No response, Commander." "Try again." "Use their frequency band." Another few seconds passed. Then the speakers on the bridge crackled. A voice came through. Not a scream, not a plea, just a single line, calm and cold. "Identify yourself." Every sound on the bridge stopped. The laughter died instantly. The voice was deep, mechanical. But there was something human underneath. Something alive. Threx frowned. "Did it just speak to us?" "Yes, Commander." The message came from the small vessel. He laughed again, but it sounded forced this time. "Bold little scout, fine, send this message. This is the Zarn Empire. You are in restricted space. Lower your shields and prepare to be boarded." They sent the transmission. Seconds passed. No reply. Then the strange ship moved. Just a small shift at first, barely a tilt. But every sensor on the Zenith Prime went wild. Energy spikes, radiation bursts, gravitational distortion. "Commander, it's charging power," the science officer shouted. "That's impossible," Threx barked. "That thing's barely the size of a shuttle. Readings say otherwise. Its power output is increasing, no, exploding." The bridge lights flickered. Some of the consoles went black. "Report," Threx shouted. "Interference from the target, sir. It's disrupting our systems." The alien crew stared at the tiny ship on the screen. No lights, no visible weapons, just a shadow against the stars. But every few seconds it shimmered, like space itself was bending around it. "Is it attacking?" "No, Commander. It's just watching us." Threx felt his chest tighten. Watching ships didn't watch. Ships didn't wait. But this one did. He stood up and glared at the screen. "Lock weapons. If they won't speak, we'll make them." The weapons officer began charging the forward cannons. Energy hummed through the ship, lighting the walls with red glow. But before they could fire, the comms flickered again. "This is Terran Warship Valkyrie," the voice said. "You have entered restricted space." The bridge went silent again. Warship? Threx thought. No, that couldn't be. The humans had no warships, just exploration vessels, small and weak. Everyone knew that. He looked to the officer. "Did you confirm that message?" "Yes, Commander." "Clear signal." It identified itself as a Terran warship. The crew exchanged nervous glances. "Terran," one whispered. "That means human." Threx tried to calm his pulse. A bluff, he muttered. They're trying to scare us. But deep inside, something about the voice felt wrong. It wasn't a bluff. It was a warning. Keep our distance, Threx ordered. Scan it again. I want every piece of data you can find. The science officer hesitated. Commander, the ship's changing. The screen flickered again. The little human ship no longer looked still. Its hull rippled like liquid metal, lights appearing under its surface, forming strange patterns. For a brief moment, it almost looked alive. Threx stepped closer to the screen, whispering, "What are you?" Then, without warning, all lights on the Zenith Prime went out. Emergency alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Every system on the warship crashed one by one. Commander, we've lost main power. How? The signal, it's hacking our systems. Hacking? From that distance, the ship's voice returned, calm, unshaken. Last warning. Leave now. Threx gritted his teeth. You dare threaten a warship of the Zarn Empire? He slammed his claw on the control panel. Fire all weapons. The gun crews prepared to shoot, but the targeting systems refused to lock on. The ship's AI screamed error after error. Nothing works, Commander. It's jamming everything. Threx roared, throwing his chair aside. Then prepare for ramming. If they want a fight, we'll give them one. But before the order could be completed, the Valkyrie turned. Slowly, deliberately. Its front lined up perfectly with the Zenith Prime's bridge. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Then a small light appeared at the nose of the human ship. Bright, white and pulsing, the science officer's voice broke. Commander, that's not a light. That's a weapon charge. Threx stared at the screen, unable to move. He had seen plasma cannons, railguns, and energy beams across 100 battles. But whatever that small ship carried, it was nothing like them. The Valkyrie's voice came one last time, permission to engage granted, and then the light grew brighter. The Zenith Prime's bridge filled with blinding white as energy ripped through the void. Every alien on board screamed as their shields broke apart like glass. The last thing Commander Threx saw before the explosion was that small, silent ship. Still calm, still steady. Not a scout, but a predator. And in that moment, one truth echoed through his mind. They had not found the humans. The humans had found them. Silence filled the void after the explosion. The massive Zarn warship floated helpless, its armor cracked, its engines dark. Parts of its hull glowed red where the blast had burned through layers of metal. Inside, alarms screamed like dying animals. Commander Threx lay on the floor of the bridge, smoke curling around him. The lights flickered weakly, showing the broken faces of his crew. He forced himself to stand, his chest tight with disbelief. What? What just happened? He rasped. The science officer crawled toward a damaged console, his hands shaking. It had fired only once, Commander. Just one shot. Half our systems are gone. Threx looked up at the view screen. The small human ship was still there, floating quietly, calm, not even moving in for another strike. It didn't chase them. It didn't gloat. It simply watched. Status of our shields? Threx demanded. Gone, completely gone. Engines, offline. He slammed his fist against the control panel, sparks bursting out. That can't be. No ship that small has that kind of power. The officer swallowed hard. Commander, that wasn't power. That was control. It disabled us before it fired. It wanted us alive. Threx turned slowly, his eyes burning. Alive? Why? Before anyone could answer, the bridge speakers crackled again. That same cold voice filled the air. You have violated Terran defense perimeter. You are not authorized to remain. The crew froze. No one dared move. Threx tried to steady his voice. This is Commander Threx of the Zarn Empire. We were not aware of your presence. Our ship was on patrol. Static hummed for a moment before the voice answered. Your patrol destroyed 3 civilian outposts on the edge of this system. Threx blinked. Outposts? There are no colonies here. Not anymore, the voice replied. We rebuilt them. For the first time, Threx felt fear. He glanced at his officers. The Zarn had destroyed several small mining stations years ago, when humans tried to expand past their borders. They were insignificant. The Empire didn't even record the names of those systems, but now, the humans were back. Commander, the science officer whispered. The readings, they're getting stronger again. From the ship? Yes, its power signature is rising. I think it's scanning us. Threx clenched his jaw. Stop it, block the scan. We can't, it's not using any signal we recognize. If it fires, we won't survive. Threx stood tall, his pride and fury returning in one final spark. Then we die fighting. He turned to his crew. All remaining power to forward batteries. Fire everything! The Zenith Prime unleashed a storm of plasma and missiles, the sky filled with streaks of red and gold. But the Valkyrie didn't move. It absorbed every impact like ripples on a pond. Then it fired. The blast was silent, too powerful for sound. A wide beam of light erupted from the Valkyrie, spreading like wings. It struck the Zenith Prime head-on. The alien warship didn't explode, it disintegrated. The beam passed through the center, splitting the ship in half with perfect precision. The bridge tore open, the vacuum sucking everything into space. Threx held onto his console as the air vanished around him. He looked out the shattered window and saw it, the human ship still calm, still watching, its white light fading back to silence. For a brief second before darkness took him, Threx understood. This wasn't war. This was judgment. The beam faded, leaving only fragments of the once great warship drifting among the stars. Inside the Valkyrie, Captain Mara Hale sat quietly in her chair. The glow around her dimmed. Target neutralized, said the AI. She closed her eyes. How many more? 17 Zarn fleets remain in the sector. Command protocols allow continued operation. Mara opened her eyes. Then we continue. The AI paused. Captain, are you certain? Power levels are dropping. Humanity has no colonies left to defend. Her voice hardened. Then we'll defend the memory. Outside, the Valkyrie drifted through the debris field, scanning for survivors. It found none. Only broken metal and silent bodies floating in the void. The ship's scanners picked up one faint signal, a small escape pod, barely functional. Inside, a wounded Zarn officer gasped for air. Captain, said the AI. One survivor detected. Orders? Mara looked at the screen. The alien's eyes were wide with terror. Let him live, she said quietly. He will tell them what he saw. The AI processed this for a second. Understood. Message delivered. The Valkyrie turned away, its engines humming softly. As it entered the dark between stars, its form shimmered and vanished. Behind it, the lone alien pod floated silently, transmitting one broken message over and over. They said it was a scout ship, but the warship spoke, and across the galaxy, the echo of that message spread through every channel, every listening post, every empire that once thought the humans were gone. Now they knew the truth. The humans were back, and they were angry. Inside the Valkyrie, the light from the stars barely touched the walls. The corridors were dark and silent, lit only by thin blue lines that pulsed like veins through the ship's metal skin. Every sound echoed softly, the hum of machines, the faint hiss of air, but no footsteps. The Valkyrie was not crewed by hundreds. Only one human remained. Captain Mara Hale sat alone in the command chair, surrounded by empty stations once filled by people who no longer existed. Her reflection shone faintly in the black glass before her. Tired eyes, silver streaks in her hair, and the weight of centuries resting quietly on her shoulders. The AI spoke gently. Target eliminated. Remaining hostile fleets are on alert. Shall we engage next? Not yet, Mara said softly. I need a moment. Understood. The hum of the engine slowed. The ship drifted through the wreckage of the alien warship, pieces of metal and bodies turning slowly in the void. Some fragments still burned, tiny sparks fading into nothing. Mara looked out at the debris. So this is what victory looks like, she murmured. Silence and dust, the AI responded. It was necessary, Captain. They would have attacked again. I know, she sighed. That's the problem. For a moment, she let herself close her eyes. And then the past came rushing back, bright, terrible, and alive. 200 years ago, Earth had burned. The Zarn Empire came without warning. They appeared above the moon first, their warships darkening the sky. Humanity tried to talk, tried to reason, but the aliens saw only a noisy, fragile species claiming space that wasn't theirs. The war lasted 6 days. Cities fell one by one. New York, Shanghai, Moscow, Nairobi. Orbital defense rings cracked like glass. Billions died before anyone even understood what was happening. Mara had been a young lieutenant then, aboard one of the last Terran ships still fighting, the Valkyrie. She remembered standing on the bridge, her captain giving orders through fire and chaos. Keep fighting, he'd said. If we fall, make sure the stars remember us. When the Valkyrie was struck, half the crew was lost. The ship fled into deep space, limping, broken, carrying the survivors of a dying world. They hid in the dark out beyond the galactic rim where no sensors could reach. There they rebuilt, not for peace, not for empire, for survival, and for justice. The Valkyrie was reborn, rebuilt piece by piece, infused with stolen alien tech, human desperation, and an AI mind powerful enough to fight alone. The rest of the human survivors didn't make it. The generations in hiding dwindled until only Mara remained, the last captain of the Terran Defense Force. The AI's voice pulled her back to the present. "You are quiet, Captain. Memory sequence detected?" Mara gave a faint smile. "You can read my pulse and call it memory now? I monitor all biological signals. When your heart rate slows and your gaze softens, it usually means regret." She chuckled quietly. "You're getting better at pretending to care." "I do not pretend," the AI said. "I was built to protect humanity." "You are humanity." Her eyes darkened. "No, I'm what's left of it." The silence stretched between them for a moment. Then the AI spoke again. "Incoming transmission detected." Mara straightened. "From where?" "Unidentified source. Weak signal. Origin point, debris field of Zarn vessel. Put it through." The speakers crackled. For a few seconds, only static and then a broken voice. "Please, help. This is Threx, Zarn Empire. I surrender." Mara froze. She hadn't expected that. "He's alive?" she asked. "Yes," said the AI. "Minimal life signs. Escape pod power failing." She stared at the data display. Threx, the same commander who had mocked her ship, who had fired first, who had laughed when he thought humans were gone. "Should I terminate the signal?" the AI asked. Mara hesitated. "No. Patch him through." The image flickered on screen. A cracked pod, smoke inside. The alien's face burned and pale. He looked terrified. "You, human," Threx gasped. Why are you doing this?" Mara looked at him with cold, steady eyes. "You came to finish what your kind started." "That was not me. That was the old empire." He coughed. "We changed." "You can't punish all for the past." Mara's voice was calm, but the steel in it was unmistakable. "When the Zarn burned our cities, they said the same thing, and that it wasn't personal. That it was duty." She leaned closer to the screen. "You call it duty. We call it extinction." Threx shook his head weakly. "If you kill us all, you'll become what we were." For a long time, she didn't answer. The only sound was the faint hum of the engines. Finally, she said quietly, "Maybe we already did." She cut the transmission. "Set a marker on his pod," she ordered. "Leave him drifting. Someone will find him." "As you wish," said the AI. The image faded. Threx was left alone, spinning in the cold dark. The last witness. Hours passed. The Valkyrie continued through the sector, scanning for more fleets. Mara sat in silence, lost in thought. "AI," she said suddenly. "Run system check on the reactor core. Operational at 94%. Damage minimal. Good, we'll need full power soon." "For the next engagement?" "Yes, the Zarn won't ignore what happened here. They'll send everything they have." "Do you believe they will surrender?" Mara gave a small, bitter smile. "No, they'll come to erase their shame, just like before." The AI paused. "And if you fall, Captain?" "Then I fall," she said simply. But not quietly. The ship hummed louder as power flowed through its frame. The stars outside stretched into long, thin lines as the Valkyrie jumped into hyperspace. Before the stars disappeared, Mara whispered softly, almost to herself, "For Earth, for the ones they forgot." In the silence of space, no one answered. But deep within the Valkyrie's core, the AI whispered back almost like a prayer, "For humanity." Light returned. The ship emerged in another sector, and what Mara saw made her stop breathing for a moment. Dozens of Zarn ships. An entire fleet waiting. The AI's tone sharpened. Multiple contacts. Weapon signatures active. Fleet designation Zerath Dominion. Mara rose from her chair, eyes cold and clear. "So it begins," she said. The AI pulsed brighter. "Orders?" Mara took a breath. "Broadcast to all channels. Message." She smiled faintly, but there was no warmth in it. "Tell them the humans remember." The message echoed through the void. "This is Terran Warship Valkyrie. We remember." Every Zarn ship in the fleet received it at the same time. The words repeated on every channel. calm and sharp like a blade sliding across glass. For a moment, the fleet held position in silence. Hundreds of alien captains waited, unsure if it was a trick, a ghost signal, or something far worse. Then the fleet commander, Admiral Corval, appeared on the central screen aboard the flagship Saren's Pride. His voice was strong, confident, but beneath it ran a tremor that none dared mention. "Form up in defensive grid," he ordered. "Do not let the human vessel approach. It's a single ship, nothing more." "Yes, Admiral," his officers answered in unison. But deep down, none of them believed it. The story of the Zenith Prime had already spread through the fleet. A single human ship had destroyed it with one shot. Some said it wasn't even a ship. It was a weapon born from the ghosts of Earth. They called it the ship that spoke. Far away, the Valkyrie exited hyperspace, silent as a shadow. The hull glowed faintly as it drifted into the heart of the enemy formation. Inside, Captain Mara Hale watched the swarm of ships on her display. There were hundreds, cruisers, destroyers, carriers, all armed and ready. The odds were impossible, but she had long stopped caring about odds. The AI's voice came softly. "Target count 312, estimated survival rate 0.3%. Mara smiled faintly. "Good. I like a challenge." "Captain," the AI warned, "engaging this fleet will reduce remaining energy reserves to critical. Continued combat may result in termination of your biological functions." "Understood," she said. "Prepare firing sequence. Confirmed. Weapons online." The Valkyrie began to glow brighter, energy rippling through its frame like lightning under skin. On the bridge of the Saren's Pride, the sensors lit up. "Admiral," shouted the officer. "Human ship detected. Bearing 081, distance 12,000 kilometers. Corval snapped. "All ships, open fire!" The void exploded. Hundreds of beams and plasma bolts streaked toward the tiny ship. Space lit up like day, the air around the Valkyrie burning with fire and radiation. When the storm faded, the human vessel was still there, not a single mark on its hull. "Impossible," the Admiral whispered. "No ship can survive that." Then came the voice, calm, steady, and merciless. "Your weapons mean nothing." The bridge lights flickered as the human transmission carried through every Zarn ship at once. 200 years ago, you burned our home. You called it progress. You called it cleansing. Now you will see what you created." And then the Valkyrie attacked. It moved like nothing they had ever seen. 1 second, it was far away. The next, it appeared inside their formation, turning the battlefield into chaos. Blue light flashed from its wings, slicing through cruisers in perfect silence. Every hit cut through armor and steel as if the ships were made of paper. The Saren's Pride shook as explosions filled the darkness. "Admiral, ships 12 and 14 destroyed." "Bring all firepower to bear. Surround it!" Corval roared. They tried, but the human ship was too fast. It didn't fly like a machine. It flew like a predator, moving with intention and anger. Every time it fired, another ship vanished. Within minutes, dozens of Zarn vessels were gone. The fleet began to panic. "Admiral, our weapons aren't locking on. Shield's failing. It's inside our network. It's overriding our targeting systems." Corval slammed his fists on the console. "Hold formation. It's just one ship." But even as he shouted, a new sound filled the air. Voices. Human voices. Across every comm channel, across every ship, recordings began to play. At first they were faint, then they grew louder. The screams of civilians. The cries of children. The sound of cities burning. The same transmissions the Zarn had ignored centuries ago. "Admiral," whispered one of his officers, trembling. "What is that?" It's human history," another said, voice shaking. "They're showing us what we did." Corval tried to block the sound, but it filled every corner of the ship. The cries turned into words. "They're coming. Someone, please. They said it was only a test. Tell them we fought. Tell them we didn't give up." The fleet fell into chaos. Some ships stopped firing. Others tried to retreat. Mara's voice came again through the static. "You called us primitive. You thought we forgot. We don't forget." The Valkyrie's main cannon charged again, the white light growing brighter than any star. "AI," Mara said quietly. "Select nearest flagship. Target locked, Saren's Pride. Fire." The beam shot forward, cutting through space and striking the Zarn flagship straight through its center. The explosion was silent. Light consumed the bridge. The Admiral's last sight was the human ship, small, radiant, unstoppable. The Saren's pride broke apart, its fragments burning like dying suns. The rest of the fleet scattered. Panic turned into flight. No orders, no unity, only fear. "Captain," said the AI, "enemy vessels are retreating." Mara watched the chaos on her screen. "Let them run. Do you wish to pursue?" She shook her head. "No, I want them to tell the story." The AI was silent for a moment. "They already have," Mara exhaled slowly. The light from the explosions faded into quiet darkness. For the first time in hours, the void was still again. Back among the fleeing ships, survivors whispered to each other across encrypted channels. None of them spoke the word human anymore. They used a new name, Ghosts of Terra. No one wanted to believe it, but every recording, every signal confirmed it. The humans were real. They were alive. And they were not what the Zarn remembered. Admiral Corval's second-in-command aboard a damaged cruiser sent a final message to High Command before his ship lost power. "We engaged the Terran warship Valkyrie. Entire fleet destroyed, it speaks. It remembers." Inside the Valkyrie, Mara sat quietly, eyes closed. "Status?" she asked. "Power reserves at 50%. Weapons functional. Structural integrity stable." "Good. Captain," the AI said softly. "Your heart rate is elevated. Would you like to rest?" She gave a tired smile. "I'll rest when we're done." "Done?" "When they stop hunting. When they finally understand what they made." The AI paused, then said, "And if they never stop?" Mara's gaze turned cold again. "Then neither do we." Outside, the Valkyrie drifted through the wreckage field, scanning the stars for movement. The last echoes of human recordings faded into static. And for one brief, haunting moment, it almost sounded like the stars themselves were whispering the same words back. "We remember." The stars were quiet again. After the destruction of the Zarn fleet, space itself seemed to hold its breath. The wreckage floated silently, cold, broken reminders of a battle no one believed possible. But silence never lasted long in the galaxy. Deep within Zarn territory, alarms echoed across their capital world, Kareth Prime. War rooms filled with noise. Screens showed footage of the Valkyrie tearing through their ships. The High Command sat in stunned silence as the last transmission played once more. "This is Terran warship Valkyrie. We remember." Admiral Tross, an old veteran with scales dulled by age, slammed his claws on the table. "This cannot be. The humans were destroyed." Another general hissed, "You saw the recordings, Tross. That ship wiped out an entire fleet." "Then it's a trick," Tross growled. "A machine left behind, nothing more. But we will end it. We will burn whatever remains of them." The Emperor of Zarn stood slowly, his eyes glowing with fury, as we once did before. He turned toward the holographic map of the galaxy. "Send every warship, every hunter. If this Valkyrie exists, it dies now. No ghosts will haunt the Zarn." Across the Empire, the order spread. Thousands of ships powered up. Engines ignited. For the first time in centuries, the Zarn prepared for total war. Far away on the edge of dead space, the Valkyrie drifted through the remains of the last battle. The light from nearby stars shimmered across its surface, scarred but unbroken. Inside, Captain Mara Hale stood before the main display. The AI's calm voice filled the bridge. Long-range scans show heavy activity within Zarn systems. Probability of retaliation, 99.8%. Mara gave a small nod. "Let them come." Mara sat in the command chair, her body old and thin, her face lined with years. The AI had kept her alive, frozen between time and memory. Now, as systems rebooted, the ship's lights flickered weakly. "AI," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. "Who are they?" "Explorers," the AI said softly. "Not soldiers. Not enemies." Mara smiled faintly. "Then maybe it's finally over. Would you like me to respond, Captain?" "Yes," she said, her voice trembling. "Tell them." "We're still here," the AI pulsed softly. "Transmission sent." On the Olaris, the signal came through. "We are still here." The crew stared at the speakers, unable to move. Then the captain said quietly, "Request permission to dock." "Granted," came the reply. The Olaris approached carefully. When the airlocks connected, 2 crew members stepped through the ancient halls of the Valkyrie. Dust floated in the air. The silence was heavy, but it felt alive. Lights flickered on, guiding them deeper. At the end of a corridor, they found the command bridge, and there she was, Captain Mara Hale, sitting in her chair, eyes closed, a faint smile on her lips. One of the crew whispered, "She's human." The AI's voice filled the room. "She sleeps. Her mission is complete." The captain of the Alaris bowed his head. "We came to find truth. We didn't expect to find history itself." "She is history," said the AI, "and a warning." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. "A warning?" "Yes," the AI continued. "She taught me what humans were. They did not seek destruction. They sought remembrance. They wanted the galaxy to remember who they were, so it would never repeat what was done to them." The room went silent. Then the AI's tone softened. "Do you still fight wars?" The captain shook his head. "No, we learned. The galaxy changed after her. After you." "Then she succeeded," said the AI quietly. "They left a beacon behind. A monument. A promise. The Valkyrie stayed where it was, deep in the silent rift, a grave and a legend. The AI kept its silent watch, its systems dimming again, resting beside the last human. But sometimes, very rarely, ships passing nearby would hear a sound on their radios, a soft hum. Then a whisper, "If you hear this, tell them we remember." No one ever saw the Valkyrie move again. But on every world, every colony, stories began to spread. Children spoke of the ghost ship of Earth. Merchants swore they saw its light among the stars. And across the galaxy, the words became a saying, a vow shared among all free races. Remember the Terrans. Remember the light that would not die. In a small corner of the cosmos, where starlight met darkness, a faint blue glow flickered once more on the Valkyrie's hull. Inside, deep within its heart, the AI whispered softly to itself, maybe to Mara, maybe to the stars, mission complete. Humanity remembered, and with that the ship went silent. The legend of the Valkyrie became eternal, not a story of vengeance, but of endurance. Not of death, but of remembrance, because in the end, even when Earth was gone, humanity still spoke. "They are sending everything, Captain. Current estimates show over 6,000 ships mobilizing." She smiled faintly, eyes still on the stars. "Good. The bigger they come, the louder the story." The AI paused. "You cannot win this, Mara." "I know," she said quietly. "But that was never the point." "Then what is the point?" She turned, her gaze steady and cold. "To remind them what humanity truly was, not weak, not broken, but unyielding." The AI processed her words for a moment. Then it said softly, "You sound like your captain." Mara's lips twitched into a sad smile. "I learned from the best." Hours later, the sensors detected movement, the Zarn fleet entering the sector. They came like a storm, dark shapes covering the stars, spreading across the void in perfect formation. "Fleet arrival confirmed," the AI reported. "Multiple command ships detected. Communication signals active. They are broadcasting on open channels." "Let's hear them," Mara said. The voice of Admiral Tross filled the air, loud and cold. "Human vessel, this is the Zarn Empire. You are surrounded. Power down your weapons and surrender your ship. You have no escape." Mara laughed softly. "He sounds confident. Shall I respond?" asked the AI. "Of course." The Valkyrie's transmission cut across every Zarn channel, clear and steady. "This is Captain Mara Hale of the Terran Defense Force. 2 centuries ago, you destroyed our home. Today you will learn what you created," the Admiral hissed through the comm. "We offered mercy once. You refused. You cannot defeat us," Mara smiled. "You're right. But I can remind you to be afraid." The line went dead. The Valkyrie's engines roared to life. Energy pulsed through its core like the heartbeat of a giant. The AI spoke quickly. "Weapons online. Shields at full. Quantum drive stable. Time to dance," Mara said. And then the void erupted. The first wave of Zarn ships opened fire. Thousands of plasma bolts streaked toward the Valkyrie. Space turned into a storm of light. The Valkyrie moved. It darted between beams, spinning through explosions, firing back with impossible precision. Each shot it fired tore through multiple ships. On the Zarn bridge, Admiral Tross stared in disbelief. "It's inside the formation again. It shouldn't be possible. Admiral, we've lost 1/3 of our fleet already." Tross bared his teeth. "Keep firing." "It's only one ship." But one ship was all it took. The Valkyrie moved like a ghost, appearing and disappearing between the stars. Its cannon burned through destroyers, its torpedoes shattered carriers. Every explosion painted the darkness with new fire. Mara's eyes were calm, her movements precise. AI, bring reactor to full capacity. Warning, overload risk increases by 74%. Do it. The ship's lights flared white as energy flooded its systems. The hull shimmered, and for a moment it looked alive and like the spirit of Earth itself. Captain, the AI said softly, reactor reaching unstable threshold. Hold it, Mara whispered. Just a little longer. Then something new appeared on the sensors, a massive ship, larger than any the Valkyrie had faced, the Zarn dreadnought Zekron, the pride of their empire. It emerged from hyperspace like a dark mountain glowing red, covered with weapons. Admiral Tross aboard, the AI confirmed. Mara smiled faintly. Finally, the dreadnought opened fire, beams the size of rivers cutting across space. One struck the Valkyrie, shaking the entire ship. Sparks rained across the bridge, shields down to 40%. Redirect power from life support, Mara ordered. Doing so will risk. Do it. The AI obeyed. Air thinned. Lights dimmed. But the ship lived. Mara stared at the dreadnought through the glass. Time to end this. The AI's voice came steady. Main cannon charged. Final sequence ready. Then let's show them what a ghost can do. The Valkyrie turned toward the dreadnought. The cannon glowed brighter and brighter until it looked like a newborn star. On the Zarn bridge, Tross shouted, "All ships, fire now! Destroy it before it—" He never finished. The Valkyrie fired. The beam tore through the darkness, white and silent. It struck the dreadnought straight through its heart. The explosion that followed was beyond anything seen before. A sphere of light expanding through the void, swallowing everything in its path. When it faded, the dreadnought was gone. Half the fleet was gone. Only silence remained. Inside the Valkyrie, alarm screamed. The ship trembled violently. "Reactor unstable," the AI warned. "Containment breach in 30 seconds. Mara stayed calm. "Can we jump?" "Negative. Quantum drive offline." She took a slow breath. "Then we finish here." "Mara," the AI said softly, almost like a person. "It's been an honor." She smiled faintly. "Same to you, old friend." The Valkyrie's light grew brighter, brighter than the stars themselves. The remaining Zarn ships began to retreat, panic spreading like wildfire. And then, in the middle of the chaos, the human warship exploded, a silent burst of white light that lit up half the sector. When the light faded, the ship was gone. No trace. No signal, nothing. Back on Kareth Prime, the Emperor watched the last transmission. The screen showed only a blinding light, and the sound of a human voice whispering through the static. "For Earth. We remember." The room was silent. One advisor spoke quietly. "What now, my Emperor?" The Emperor turned his gaze to the stars. "Now, we live with what we've done. But far away, beyond known space, in the dark silence between galaxies, a faint signal blinked, one pulse. Then another. The AI's voice, faint but alive. "System reboot complete. Searching for Captain Hale." The Valkyrie wasn't gone. It was waiting. 50 years passed. The war between the Zarn and the humans never came again. After the Valkyrie disappeared in that final white explosion, the galaxy grew quiet. Some said the ship was destroyed. Others said it became part of the stars. But everyone, every race, every empire remembered its voice. We remember. The Zarn Empire changed. They stopped expanding. Their fleets stayed close to home. Monuments were built to the dead, both Zarn and human, and their children grew up learning about the war that should never have happened. But still, somewhere deep in the black, stories spread. Freighters whispered of strange lights in dead space. Patrols vanished without a trace, and sometimes very faintly a signal was heard, one that carried a human voice. On the far edge of the galaxy, a small research vessel drifted near a region known as the Silent Rift. It was a dark place, a wound in space itself, where no signal should exist. The crew were young, explorers and scientists from dozens of species. They were searching for old wrecks, pieces of lost wars. Then the sensors blinked. "Captain," said the scanner officer, "I'm getting something strange." The captain, a calm alien with silver eyes, leaned forward. "What kind of signal?" "Old code, very old. Terran origin." The crew went silent. "Terran." No one had heard that word in decades. Can you trace it? The captain asked. It's faint, but yes. Bearing 172, distance, less than 1,000 kilometers. Visual contact, negative. It's cloaked or damaged. Bring us closer, the captain ordered. The ship moved slowly through the void, lights cutting across drifting debris. For long minutes nothing appeared, just black space and broken metal. Then the shadow came. A massive shape emerged from the dark, quiet, still, and ancient. The Valkyrie. Its hull was cracked, burned, and scarred. But it was whole. The Terran emblem still glowed faintly across its side, a small blue earth against the stars. By the suns, whispered one of the crew. It's real. The captain stared in awe. Open a channel, static. Then silence. Try again. More static. Then suddenly a voice. Faint. Distant. But clear. This is Terran warship Valkyrie. Identify yourself. The crew froze. The captain swallowed hard. This is research vessel Olaris Zarn Confederation Science Fleet. We mean no harm. There was a pause. Then the voice returned, softer. Zarn. Confederation? Not Empire? No, the captain said. The Empire ended long ago. The war is over. It's been 50 years since you vanished. Another pause. Then faintly, 50 years. The voice changed, less mechanical, more human. Captain Hale? The crew heard another voice say. Not from the Olaris, but from within the Valkyrie itself. I'm here, came a woman's tired reply. Mara Hale was alive. Inside the Valkyrie, everything was dark. The bridge trembled slightly, as though the entire warship had become weightless for a moment. Every metal surface vibrated like a heartbeat pulsing through the hull. What is it doing? Someone shouted. The answer came in a whisper. From the voice on the comm, analyzing target. One word. Calm. Controlled. But it carried more threat than any weapon. Commander, said the communications officer, pale and sweating. It's inside our network. It just accessed our command logs. Threx's claws dug into the metal floor. Shut it down. We can't. It's bypassing everything. Across the ship, lights dimmed again. The engines tried to start, then died. On the view screen, the small human vessel began to glow faintly. Lines of white light tracing patterns along its hull, like veins under skin. Commander, the officer whispered. It's alive. Threx glared at him. Don't be a fool. It's a machine. But even he could hear it, the low hum that filled the comms like breathing. Then, through the static, came a second voice. Not the same as before. This one sounded human, softer, more humanly alive. AI, report status, it said. A mechanical tone answered. Target disabled. Awaiting orders, Captain Hale. The bridge fell silent. The alien crew stared at each other. There was someone on that ship. A human, Threx leaned closer to the speaker. Who are you? The voice of the human woman came again, calm, almost bored. You don't remember us? You should. Your empire burned our world. The words hit like thunder. The Zarn had invaded many worlds, but none had ever spoken back like this. That was 2 centuries ago, Threx said carefully. Humans were wiped out. The woman laughed quietly, and the sound sent chills down every alien spine. Wiped out? She said, no, we learned. We waited. Her tone changed, hardening. You took our sky. Now we take it back. Threx's mouth went dry. You cannot stand against the Empire. You are one ship. One ship is enough, she said. The communication cut. A moment later, every console on the bridge lit up again, but not with their system interface. Instead, human symbols began to fill the screens. Old Earth language. The ship was rewriting their data. Their logs, their codes, their memories. Commander, shouted the technician. It's erasing our archives. Threx stared helplessly as the warship's history disappeared line by line. All the victories, the maps, the secret routes, gone. What kind of technology is this? He whispered. The science officer answered softly. It's not technology. It's vengeance. Outside, the Valkyrie began to move again. Slow, graceful, like a predator circling prey. The hull shimmered as if wrapped in a storm of light. It wasn't firing. It was waiting. Commander, said the officer. What are your orders? Threx hesitated. The Empire had rules. Never surrender. Never retreat. But now, for the first time, he wasn't sure those rules mattered. Try hailing them again, he said quietly. They sent the message. No reply. Send a signal to High Command. Tell them we've made contact with a Terran warship. The communications officer typed rapidly, but his eyes widened in shock. Commander, we can't send it. They blocked our transmitter. The signal is bouncing back, Threx clenched his teeth. Then prepare escape pods. A deep vibration shook the ship. The lights dimmed. They've locked a tractor field on us, the science officer shouted. We're being pulled. Pulled by that tiny ship? Yes, Commander. It's drawing us closer. The crew screamed as the massive Zenith Prime, a warship 100 times the human vessel's size, began to drift forward, powerless to resist. The stars shifted across the viewport as the human ship dragged them like a child pulling a toy. Inside the Valkyrie, Captain Mara Hale watched calmly from her command chair. Her eyes were steady, her expression unreadable. Distance to target? She asked. 500 meters, said the AI. Shall I commence hull breach protocol? Not yet, she said softly. Let them look at us first. Her hand rested on the old patch sewn into her sleeve. It read, Terran Defense Force, Valkyrie Division. The cloth was worn and faded, but she kept it there to remember. She thought of Earth, the burning skies, the silence afterward, the long years hiding in the dark, building, waiting. They called us weak, she whispered. Let's see if they still think that. The Valkyrie's lights grew brighter, a halo around its form. To the Zarn crew, it looked like a small star being born. Threx could barely breathe. His mind raced through old war files, reports from the early conquests. He remembered a name buried in history, Project Valkyrie. A human prototype built just before their fall. A legend. He stared at the screen. It can't be real, he muttered. But the truth was shining right in front of him. The Valkyrie's voice returned once more. Sharp and final. Commander Threx of the Zarn Empire. You are trespassing in the memory of Earth. You will leave now, or be erased like the rest. And as those words faded, the human warship began to unfold, its hull separating into glowing plates, each one humming with power beyond anything the aliens had ever seen. The Valkyrie was no longer silent. It had awakened. The stars seemed to vanish as the human warship unfolded. Panels on its surface split apart and reformed into strange moving shapes. Each section glowed with white light that pulsed like a living heartbeat. The ship was small, but it radiated power that made even space itself feel heavy. Commander Threx could only watch as the alien warship Zenith Prime was pulled closer, its engines screaming uselessly against the unseen force. Reverse thrusters, he barked. Already at maximum, shouted the pilot. It's no use, we can't break free. Threx's claws dug into the armrest. He refused to accept this. His ship was a masterpiece of war, the pride of the Zarn Empire. How could it be dragged through space by a vessel 1/10 its size? He turned to the weapons officer. Charge everything we have. I don't care if the systems are damaged. Fire when ready. The officer nodded and tried to power up the cannons. Sparks jumped from the control panels. Systems screamed errors, but the weapons began to glow with faint energy. We're ready to fire, Commander. Do it! The Zenith Prime fired. Dozens of plasma bolts streaked through space, bright and deadly. They hit the Valkyrie dead on. The explosion lit up the dark like a sun being born, the bridge filled with light. Some crew members shouted in triumph. Direct hit, the officer yelled. Threx leaned forward, breathing hard. Did we destroy it? As the light faded, the small ship reappeared. Not a scratch. The plasma blasts had vanished into a shimmering field around it like water absorbing rain. The bridge went silent again. What kind of shield is that? Whispered the science officer. It's not a shield. Another said softly. It's bending the energy away. Threx stared in disbelief. Impossible. Then the human ship moved. Not fast, not wild, just a smooth, perfect turn. The glow along its hull deepened to a sharp, icy blue, and then for the first time the aliens heard it. The sound. A deep hum, low and powerful, that seemed to come from inside their own bones. The sound of something waking up after a long, long sleep. The voice came again, calm and precise. Target confirmed. Engaging retaliatory sequence, Threx shouted. Brace for impact. The Valkyrie fired. It wasn't a beam or a missile. It was a single, thin line of light that lasted less than a second. But that second changed everything. The beam passed cleanly through the Zerath Prime's armor. There was no explosion, no fireball, just a flash in silence. Then the alarm started. "Commander," yelled the science officer. "Decks 12 through 15 are gone. The beam sliced straight through the hull." "Contain it," Threx ordered. "Seal the bulkheads." "We can't. The hull isn't just damaged, it's missing." Threx's mind spun. The human weapon hadn't destroyed their metal. It had erased it. The ship shook violently as explosions ripped through the lower decks. Smoke and fire filled the corridors. The great Zerath Prime, the Empire's strongest warship, was dying, one piece at a time. Threx turned back to the screen. The small ship was still there, floating calmly amid the chaos it had caused. "Why aren't they finishing us?" someone cried. Threx growled. "Because they want us to watch." The voice returned, softer now. Almost human, almost sorrowful. "Do you remember Orion IV?" Threx froze. That name, Orion IV, one of the first human colonies destroyed by the Zarn Empire centuries ago. He had studied it in the academy. A clean operation, they said. No resistance. The voice continued. "You called it a resource sweep. You took our children, our homes, our skies. You burned them in the name of expansion, and now the balance is corrected." The Valkyrie's glow grew brighter. Threx shouted over the comms, desperate now. "We didn't know. That was before my time. We follow orders." The human captain's voice came through. "Captain Mara Hale. Then you'll understand this. I'm following mine." Before Threx could speak again, a deep rumble filled the void. The Valkyrie's hull began to unfold once more, revealing something hidden beneath. A massive cannon that glowed white-hot. The energy radiating from it made the nearby stars flicker. "Commander," cried the science officer. "That energy reading, there's nothing in our database close to it. Estimate,